All right, so I'm going to be talking about the T14 assault tank, kind of a variant of the Sherman, but there's a lot of other, I guess you could say, tank DNA put in there. One of the issues we had as the American armies, the Allies going through Europe, is that we knew that we were always going to be on the offensive. With the Germans in the defense, it usually means you are going to lose your lead tank as you're moving into the offensive. So one of the issues we had to work out was how to provide those lead vehicles with better protection. So that's what the T14 is kind of looking at, is adding that armor protection to that lead vehicle. Very similar to what would become the Jumbo Sherman, the M4A3E2. Now, as you can see though, even though it looks like a Sherman, it may walk like a Sherman, there's a lot of new features put on the hull. Very different dimensions. In fact, around me, we have a couple other Sherman-based vehicles. You know, I should say the dimensions, especially the angles, are very different, but it still has the standard 75mm gun of the Sherman, which you'll notice the turret is very much larger. You'll notice the track is much wider because the increase in weight from all the extra armor, much wider track, and we actually look at it, we're almost positive this is actually Stuart track doubled up in order to make it wider. If you look at the suspension system, all right, you'll see besides having the standard bogey system of the Sherman tank, you'll see you also have these brackets here. If we were on the other side of the tank, which is backed up against that Churchill there, you would see that this has skirts on the side to provide better protection. Much like the German Scherzen that you would see on the Panzerkampfwagen 5 Panther. What's really interesting is because of the weight of the tank and the fact that this is still a lighter suspension system, it hasn't been beefed up yet, it's actually bolted into these brackets to kind of provide better suspension support. So, much heavier Sherman, even though it still has the same armament. So with the angled armor, I have a little extra protection. Also had now the Ford V8 GA engine that the later war Shermans would have used. But as you can see, it's very, very much more robust. Now the disadvantage to this though, is that it's very different compared to the standard Sherman. And so while it might be heavier, the amount of parts that are different would have been a strain on the logistical chain. I think that's really what kind of killed this project. There was two of these tanks made. Americans had one, gave one to the British to use. Of course, this is the British one, it's very Bobbitt. Unfortunately, the American one we scrapped pretty much immediately after the program was canceled. But the idea of having an assault tank lived on into the M4A3E2 Jumbo Sherman.